Hi everyone, this is Shivam. Welcome to Clouds and DevOps Crafted. This video is part of a new playlist called Kubernetes Without Fear, where we break Kubernetes down the way it actually works, without making it confusing or scary. And we are starting with one command that controls everything. If you have ever ran a kubectl command and thought, I have no idea what just happened, then this video is for you. Because there really is one command that controls your entire Kubernetes cluster. And no, it's not magic. By the end of this video, kubectl will stop feeling scary because you will finally understand what it actually does. So let's break the fear. So here I am on my Git bash. Most beginners experience Kubernetes like you type a command, pod appears, things break, error shows up. What just happened? Did kubectl do something behind the scene? This confusion is why Kubernetes feels scary. So today, I want to give you one simple mental model that changes everything. Here's the most important thing to understand. kubectl is just a remote control. It does not create pods or schedule containers or manages nodes. kubectl has only one job. Inside every Kubernetes cluster, there is one brain called the API server. Everything goes through it. When you run kubectl command, kubectl sends a request, the API server receives it, and then Kubernetes reacts. kubectl itself is actually pretty dumb, and that's a good thing. I am keeping this simple on purpose. If you want the full Kubernetes architecture breakdown, I have already covered that in a separate video in my beginner series. Do check out this Kubernetes architecture explained video on my channel. Now let's head on to the demo section and we'll see kubectl in action. So we are back on our Git bash terminal. Quick context before the demo. I'm running a kind cluster locally on my Windows laptop. This is not a cloud environment. This is a safe environment where I can break things on purpose. Just to show you how Kubernetes really works. So right now we can see that our kubectl command is working and we are able to get pods, nodes, and everything looks normal. kubectl is talking to API server and getting the results. Now remember the theory. kubectl only talks to the API server. So let's test that theory. What happens if the API server goes down? You should never do this in production environment. I am doing this locally so that you can see the behavior clearly. So let me exec into the control plane node. Since I'm using Docker as my container, I'm using docker exec command and I'll copy the name of my control plane node. Okay, so here I am inside my control plane node. Let's go to the directory where all the configuration file for the control plane processes are present. The directory is /etc/kubernetes manifest. And if we do ls, we can see there are multiple files. One for etcd, API server, controller manager, and scheduler. So these are the processes which are running on my control plane node. Now let me move this file out to a temp directory. So I'm gonna move the API server file to /temp directory. Now if I do ls, I don't have the API server file here. Now look at this. I tried getting pods, but now I'm getting error. kubectl didn't actually work. It didn't return any cache data. It didn't guess. It just stopped. kubectl is basically saying, I can't reach the API server, so I can't do anything. No API server means no get, no describe, no delete, no apply, because kubectl has nothing else to talk to. Now let's try to restore our cluster. I'll move the API server config file from temp directory to this current directory. Okay, the file is here. It will probably take a couple of minutes for API server to come up. And once the API server is up, we'll try to run the kubectl get pods again. So let's run the kubectl command and we'll see what happens. Okay, we can clearly see that the kubectl command is working now. This is the proof that kubectl is not Kubernetes. It is just a remote control for our Kubernetes cluster. Now let me exit from the control plane node and we'll explore some more kubectl commands. So till now we have seen kubectl get pods and we have seen kubectl get nodes. Now let's use another kubectl command, which is kubectl describe pod, and I'll use the name of this pod. Oops, my bad. This is not magic either. kubectl is basically saying, give me everything you know about this pod. So we can see that the name of the pod is this demo app. It's in default namespace and it is running an Nginx image, and below are some more details about the pod. Now let's try to delete this pod using kubectl delete command. kubectl didn't kill the pod. It just told API server, I want this pod to be gone. Now let's explore what does kubectl apply command does. So I have already created one sample YAML file for pod. I'm gonna apply that using kubectl apply -f pod1.yaml. So what this command is doing, it's gonna apply this pod1.yaml, and this -f specifies that it's a file. Here, kubectl sends the desired state to the API server, and Kubernetes does the work to make reality match the state. kubectl is done the moment the request is accepted by the API server. It says pod created. Now let's go ahead and check the pod. Okay, we can clearly see that our pod was created 12 seconds ago. So let's log this in. kubectl is not magic. It does not run containers. It only talks to the API server. Once this clicks, Kubernetes becomes much less scary. If this video helped you understand kubectl commands, the next one shows a kubectl mistake that has taken down production clusters. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, keep learning.